Hey, everybody. Welcome to the episode or the latest episode in the Louis Tomlinson series that I'm just doing this out of my own personal interest, but thanks for joining me. And we're diving into this fascinating story, this ongoing saga of resilience, talents, and determination in the music industry. So when One Direction went on hiatus in 2016, the world and their fans were eagerly watching to see what would become of the five members. Now, Zayn was already solo, but he had just sort of left in March, and then they went on hiatus at the end of the year. Now, while Harry Styles quickly rose to international superstardom with massive industry backing, another story was unfolding away from the spotlight, and that was of Louis Tomlinson. And today we're exploring just how Louis managed to build a successful career against the significant odds of what some fans suggest is a blacklisting for having spoken out against management and the maneuvering he did to help him and the band be free of the really restrictive Psycho contract. There is a cost, and some surmise that it was the blacklisting and not having his songs played, but thank God for his fans, and that this is why his fans are very loyal, and he's loyal to them, is because he could have done it without the fans, and the fans were still there for him, even when he just didn't have any support. A lot of people like the underdog, and definitely this is one underdog that his fan will fight for. Okay, so he relied primarily on his raw songwriting talent and the business savvy rather than the industry machine that propelled his former bandmate Harry Styles to the heights of fame. And Louis is a tale of persistence, authentic artistry, and forging your own path when the doors aren't being opened for you. Like I said, there would be no Harry Styles in his current incarnation if not for Louis Tomlinson. So before we dive into the solo journeys, we're going to just do a rewind a bit for anybody who's a newer directioner. There's a lot of us who became directioners after we learned of Liam passing and went down a rabbit hole of discovering the band. So One Direction wasn't just a band, they were a global phenomenon. I call them the Beatles 2.0, and they were even more colossal than Duran Duran. For me to say that, that says something. Five teenage boys brought together on the X Factor in 2010 went on to sell 70 million records worldwide, fill stadiums across continents, and amass one of the most dedicated fan bases in music history. I think the dedicated fan base grew really exponentially quickly, mainly because it coincided with the rise in social media, which has been credited with why One Direction became so huge. So when the hiatus was announced, each member faced the daunting task of establishing individual identities after years of being part of this massive collective. The industry, as it often does, quickly began placing bets on who would make it as a solo artist, and Harry Styles was immediately positioned as the breakout star, with massive record deals, high-profile management, and A-list collaborations lined up before the band had even officially paused. And this is where our story really begins. The contrast between the industry's approach to Harry versus Louis couldn't have been more stark. While Harry was given immediate access to legendary producers, songwriters, and promotional opportunities, Louis found himself in a very different position. Industry executives weren't exactly lining up at Louis' door. There was a clear bias in how resources and opportunities were allocated. Harry was positioned as a serious artist with substantial financial backing, prime-time television slots, magazine covers, and a carefully orchestrated image overhaul. Meanwhile, Louis faced an uphill battle just to get his music heard. This wasn't a reflection of talent, far from it. It was a classic case of industry politics and predetermined narratives. The music business had decided who the star would be, and the machinery moved accordingly. When Madonna came out, her and Cyndi Lauper were contemporaries in 1984. Cyndi Lauper had Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Madonna had Like a Virgin. Their sound and their look was kind of that similar look, the similar style with that streetwise, urban, urchin punk kind of look. Now, everyone said at the time that Cyndi Lauper was the real deal and Madonna was a flash in the pan because Cyndi Lauper had that vocal range. Cyndi Lauper really was more of an artist, but Madonna, being such a marketing genius, was able to turn the tide, and then now you see Madonna she had the career she did. Now, in a way, Madonna was also an underdog because people were really saying it was Cyndi Lauper was going to be the legend. So that goes to show that if you've got smarts and you do have talent, although Cyndi Lauper was a better singer, I will say that, uh, and you've got the gumption, you can make it. Now, it's very telling because a lot of the songs that were written by band members in One Direction, Louis and Liam Payne wrote a lot of the songs. Harry did too, but nowhere near as much as Louis and Liam. Also, it goes to show that who actually made it, if it was purely on talent and, savvy, Louis hands down, Liam Payne hands down, Niall Horan hands down, Zayn Malik hands down. Harry Styles, I don't know. Harry Styles, if you took away the favor that he got, I don't know if he would actually make it because he didn't even enter himself in that X Factor. His mom did. His mom kind of had to convince him. So what that says is Harry is only Harry because of a machine. But is Harry truly talented? Harry's more of a showman. But in style versus substance, if people get pissed off, I don't care. The substance is on Louis. And this is why I don't really have to do this. In fact, I'm busy working on a doctorate right now, but this is good for my mind to talk about something unrelated to academia because it needs a break, otherwise it'll be too full. But part of the reason I'm doing this on Louis and maybe putting some of my own research skills and communication abilities to task for him is because, God damn it, this guy deserves everything Harry was given, because Harry would be nothing without the machine, and Harry would be nothing. He wouldn't have gotten the contract that's so favorable to his artistic control if it wasn't for Louis. So for people who say Harry owes Louis nothing, I say bullshit on that. Harry fucking owes him everything. Okay. So what many casual observers don't realize is that Louis was actually one of One Direction's most prolific songwriters. In fact, he wrote 37 of One Direction's songs, more than any other member of the group. Tracks like No Control, Home, and Perfect all bear his creative fingerprints. These weren't just album fillers, but fan favorites that showcased his intuitive understanding of memorable melodies and relatable lyrics. This songwriting ability would become Louis' greatest asset and the foundation of his solo career. While the industry might not have been opening doors, Louis had something that couldn't be manufactured or marketed. Unlike Harry, who is a complete manufactured, marketed thing, genuine talent for crafting songs that connected with people. The only reason Harry can write these achy songs now is because he's aching for Louis and because he was around Louis enough that it rubbed off on him. But if there had been no Louis, there would be no Harry. Louis' early solo journeys wasn't without its challenges. His first solo releases were collaborations that didn't necessarily reflect his artistic vision. Just Hold On with Steve Aoki and Back to You with Bebe Rexha were radio-friendly, but didn't fully capture the artistic direction he wanted to pursue. Behind the scenes, Louis was wrestling with record label politics and figuring out his authentic sound. Unlike Harry, who had the luxury of taking time to craft his debut album with the industry's full support, Louis was navigating these waters largely on his own. There's a telling quote from Louis during this period. I wasn't ready to be writing that song super personal, but when you're thinking about what kind of artist you want to be, you realize that the most interesting artists write songs from experience. And this marked a turning point. Louis realized that without the industry machine behind him, his path to success would need to be built on authenticity and direct connection with fans. If the traditional routes weren't available, he'd have to forge new ones. So, rather than waiting for the industry to catch up, Louis began building his career from the ground up. He focused on crafting songs that felt genuine to his experiences and establishing a direct relationship with his fan base. In 2019, Louis released Two of Us, a profoundly personal song about the loss of his mother. This marked a significant shift in his approach, no more trying to fit industry expectations. Instead, he was creating music that reflected his life and emotions. This authenticity resonated. Without massive promotional campaigns, Two of Us connected with listeners in a way that polished, heavily marketed songs often can't. It was a testament to the power of songwriting that comes from a place of truth. Louis was also smart about building his business foundation. He established his own festival, the Away From Home Festival, showing remarkable entrepreneurial spirit. This wasn't just about performing, it was about creating opportunities for himself and other artists outside the traditional industry structures. The release of Louis' debut album, Walls, in 2020 represented a significant milestone. Created without the massive budgets and an all-star producer lineups that Harry Styles enjoyed, Walls was nonetheless a critical and commercial success. The album showcased Louis' strength as a songwriter and his indie rock influences. Tracks like Kill My Mind, We Made It, and the title track Walls revealed an artist who had found his voice. The Britpop influences and introspective lyrics presented a mature, distinct artistic vision. What's particularly impressive is that Walls debuted at number 9 on the US Billboard 200 and reached the top 10 in multiple countries, all without the promotional push that typically accompanies major label priorities. This was a testament to Louis' connection with his audience and the quality of his work. Meanwhile, Harry Styles is wearing dresses, which I have no issue with because I like his fluidity, but I find that the channeling of Freddie Mercury, the outrageousness, and that he is a natural showman, I give him that. But it's almost like sometimes Harry wears things. It's like just because you can doesn't mean you should, and it's sort of like the flamboyance is all great, but Louis doesn't need that. Louis can be just basic, simple, because really all the style in the world does not make up for substance. Just saying. Okay. Louis' second album, Faith in the Future, released in 2022, further cemented his artistic identity. The album itself seems to reflect his queer philosophy, a belief in his own path, despite industry obstacles. With this album, Louis proved he wasn't just surviving in the industry, but thriving on his own terms. The album debuted at number 5 on the US Billboard 200 and reached number 1 on the UK Albums Chart, a remarkable achievement for an artist who had to build much of his infrastructure from scratch. Critics praised the album's cohesiveness and growth, noting that Louis had developed a sound that was distinctly his own. This wasn't an artist riding on the coattails of previous fame, but someone who had earned his position through consistent quality and artistic integrity. Perhaps one of the most telling indicators of Louis' success is his world tour performance. Without the massive marketing budget that supported Harry Styles' tours, Louis still managed to sell out venues across the globe, including prestigious locations like Red Rocks Amphitheatre and the O2 Arena in London. What's particularly notable is the diversity of his audience. Louis wasn't just drawing in former One Direction fans, but attracting new listeners who connected with his authentic sound and approach. His ability to command these audiences speaks volumes about his talent as both a songwriter and performer. Louis' tour success came from ground-level support rather than top-down industry promotion. It was built on genuine connection with fans and the strength of his musical output, rather than manufactured hype or the glamour of high-fashion endorsements. Yeah, he does not need to be on a Vogue cover shoot because, Louis just has to be himself. Okay, so let's look at Harry Styles' journey and just a stark contrast. All right, so there's no denying that Harry Styles is immensely talented and worked hard for his success. However, it's also undeniable that he received unprecedented industry support from day one of his solo career. Harry's self-titled debut album was preceded by months of carefully orchestrated hype. He was signed to Columbia Records with a reported $80 million deal, one of the biggest in music history for a new solo artist. He was immediately connected with legendary producers and songwriters, given prime television slots, including a week-long residency on James Corden's show, and featured in major publications worldwide. So basically, Louis is the backbone. Louis doesn't need this. Louis made it without that. And if Harry and Louis swapped places in terms of position, Harry would have basically gone into obscurity. Harry was positioned as not just a musician, but a fashion icon and actor as well, with opportunities in major films like Dunkirk coming his way early in his solo career. Every aspect of his transition from boy band member to serious solo artist was carefully managed by a team of industry professionals with virtually unlimited resources. This level of support wasn't extended to the other One Direction members, particularly Louis. The stark contrast raises important questions about how the music industry operates and how success is often predetermined by executive decisions rather than merit alone. Let's parallel this to Niall Horan. So interestingly, Niall Horan's solo journey provides another point of comparison. Like Louis, Niall didn't receive the same level of immediate industry backing as Harry, though he did have more support than Louis initially. Niall had to prove himself as a solo artist largely through his own merit and connection with fans. His folk pop direction was a risky departure from One Direction's sound, but his songwriting talents. And remember who taught Harry how to play guitar? Niall Horan. Who had the best X Factor audition? Niall Horan. But his songwriting and authentic approach resonated with audiences. Albums like Flicker and Heartbreak Weather showcased his growth as an artist and songwriter. Similar to Louis, Niall's success has been built on genuine musical talent and audience connection rather than manufactured industry narratives. Both artists have cultivated careers that feel authentic to who they are rather than who marketing executives want them to be. So, what is the true measure of success? Well, this brings us to an important question. How do we measure success in the music industry? Is it chart positions and streaming numbers alone? Or is there something to be said for building a career on your own terms, developing as a songwriter, and maintaining artistic integrity? If you look purely at commercial metrics, Harry Styles has undoubtedly achieved the greatest post One Direction success. But if it takes all this unlimited money and all these this machine around you to make it, I don't know. Me personally, no, it's not exactly a good thing that you needed that much coaching to be something. But if you consider the obstacles overcome and what was achieved relative to the support received, Louis Tomlinson's story becomes even more impressive. Starting with considerably less industry backing, Louis has built a global fan base, released critically respected albums, sold out world tours, and established himself as a legitimate solo artist. He's done this primarily through his songwriting talent, business acumen, and direct connection with fans rather than industry machinery. There's something particularly admirable about an artist who creates their own opportunities when traditional doors aren't opening. Louis didn't wait for the industry to believe in him. He believed in himself enough to forge his own path. That's the difference between Harry and Louis. Louis only needs Louis. Beyond his musical talents, Louis has demonstrated remarkable business savvy. Recognizing that traditional industry support wasn't forthcoming, he's been proactive in creating his own opportunities. The Away From Home Festival is a perfect example. Rather than waiting for festival invitations, Louis created his own platform, one where he had complete creative control. This entrepreneurial spirit extends to other aspects of his career as well, from his approach to touring to merchandise and fan engagement. Now, if Harry Styles had half the struggle Louis had, Harry Styles would probably be, depressed. Louis also briefly owned his hometown football club, Doncaster Rovers, showing his business interests extend beyond music. This kind of diversification and entrepreneurial thinking has helped him build a sustainable career outside the traditional star-making machinery. But perhaps Louis' greatest achievement has been establishing an authentic connection with his audience. Without massive marketing campaigns, he's built a dedicated fan base through genuine interaction and music that reflects his real experiences. His social media presence feels personal rather than managed. His interviews are candid, and his music tells stories from his life rather than what might be commercially expedient. This authenticity has created a level of loyalty that cannot be manufactured. One day, people will be sick of Harry Styles and his channeling of Freddie Mercury, the original one. And I don't know. I don't think he can build what Louis did, even if Louis sat him down and told him. I think you need to have the heart and the courage, and the heart of a lion. I think the lion is the kind of the symbol of Britain. That lion heart, Louis the Lionheart. In an era where audiences are increasingly savvy about marketing tactics, Louis' straightforward approach has proven remarkably effective. Fans don't just listen to his music, they feel personally invested in his journey because it's been shared so openly. So the story of Louis Tomlinson's post-One Direction career is ultimately about defying expectations and creating success on your own terms. It's about the power of songwriting talent and authentic connection in an industry often dominated by marketing budgets and predetermined narratives. I say that again. And while Harry Styles' massive success is undeniable, it's also inseparable from the unprecedented industry support he received. And Louis, in contrast, has built something perhaps more remarkable, a sustainable career based primarily on his own talents and determination. Both paths have merit, but there's something particularly inspiring about an artist who succeeds not because of the system, but despite it. And Louis Tomlinson has proven that genuine songwriting ability, business acumen, and authentic connection with his fan base can overcome even the most significant of industry biases. As listeners and music fans, perhaps this story encourages us to look beyond the most heavily promoted artists and seek out authentic voices like Louis, talent who may not have the full weight of the industry behind them, but who have something genuine to say. So, thanks for joining me on this exploration of Louis Tomlinson's journey thus far. If there's one thing to take away, it's that true artistry finds a way to be heard, even when the path isn't made easy. And Louis hasn't just survived in a challenging industry, he thrived on his own terms, and that might be the most impressive achievement of all. And if the research sources are correct about the Tomlinson method and how there's like a master class of people studying about how he broke free from the grips of Psycho's contract in law schools, then Louis' contributions to the industry and to the future generation of talent is far more substantial and far more important than Harry's. And I am always going to be more pro Louis than Harry. And if anything, Harry had what another person in the comment section here said. He had the curls and he was cute. But as we see him age, the curls are less because people lose their hair. And he's been rumored to have a hair transplant. And cute, eventually you're not cute if you get old enough.